We're live. Hello, everyone. My name is Kevin Caldwell. I am the owner operator of the Creators Place Substack, and I have a publication called Understanding Christianity, where I share generational wisdom from a well lived Christian life. And I'm also um, working on publishing a second publication called well, the creator's place is about creativity and so forth, which is a segue into who my guest is here tonight. His name is Lee Stephen, and Lee is, let's see, Lee is an author, an award winning author of Destiny's Edge series, and has carved a place for himself where science fiction and faith intersect. He is a native of Des Alamans, Louisiana, where he lives with his wife, Lindsay, his three sons, Levi, Lawson, and Lyndon, and their dog, Coco Grace. In addition to writing, Lee has worked in emergency preparedness since 2005. Lee, is there anything you want to add to that?
That's a lot right there, man. Tell you what, anything from child rearing to emergency preparedness, that's a lot. So
Well,
um,
I have a funny story that I want to share.
let's hear it.
Okay. So, first of all, you and I got the ball rolling back in November of 2024.
Yes.
And now we're finally here doing this interview. Um, but I first learned that you were an author from your wife, Lindsay. And I, I did an interview with Lindsay back in February of 2025. So if I
Yes.
link in the in the uh, in the comment section, I'll do that. Um, but uh, Lindsay said you were an author, and my response to her was, "I don't think I know any authors." And now I'm in on Substack in a sea of authors, which is
There
a
you go.
great place to be. Needing a new one myself, so that's really good. Um, so me, what about emergency preparedness? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So I work as an emergency manager, which I've done since 2005. Um, and what it really is, it's about preparing for and then mitigating emergencies. Obviously, we deal with a lot of hurricanes down here. Severe weather is a frequent thing, and so, but there's also other things that can happen with trains and industry and just highway accidents with hazardous material, right?
Mhm.
And so, what I kind of do is we form response plans ahead of time and kind of prepare for the event that things like these could occur. And that way, if they ever do occur, we're able to implement the procedures that we put in place and whatnot.
Mhm.
And so it's a unique job. Um, it's definitely given me a lot of insight into how government works and how emergency response works. I've done it
Yeah.
for 20 years now, and so yeah, it's been a good field for me. Good field.
Okay. Okay. Does it influence any of your writing in your?
I mean, I think everything in life influences your writing to a
Mm,
degree.
yeah.
So I don't know that there's much that I would say no about that. Specifically for that, it really is, I think, knowing how plans and procedures and the government works and how responses work.
Mhm.
And so these are things that I don't know that people necessarily know who are not in an industry like that. Um, but we work with the military, with the National Guard, and so getting a chance to see that, experience that, has definitely, I think, improved the way that I write, especially writing military science fiction.
Right, right, right. Okay, that does answer some questions for me that I had for you about
Okay.
writing into science fiction. Yeah, the military aspect of it. All right. So how many books have you written to date?
So in in Destiny or in Destiny's Edge, I'll say. Um, it used to be called Epic from 2006 to 2022, I believe it was, and then I rebranded to Destiny's Edge. And so I had the original 6 of 9. I'd gotten that far before I rebranded. So I don't know if you're going to count the new ones as new books, but I won't, just for the sake of keeping it simple. So it'd be those 6.
Mm.
I wrote a novella for Goldhawk Interactive, which is a video game company. The novella was called Crimson Dagger, was for a video game called Xenonauts, and I also wrote um, a novel for the Sandy Peterson games, and a game that they had coming out called Hyperspace, and so I got to write a novel for that. So I have dabbled in other areas outside of this, and there's 1 or 2 others that I've written that just haven't seen the light of day yet. So about 10,
Okay.
about 10.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Um, so when did you start? When did you start writing?
Early.
Mhm.
I remember in, my goodness, 3rd grade, elementary school. My favorite time was when we'd make a book. And we get to draw the pictures and write the story, and we bind it with yarn. I mean, this was simple kid stuff.
Yeah.
But that was my favorite time. Every grade, I looked forward to when in that grade we were going to make a book, and sharing it and just seeing people's reactions to the stories. And so, gosh, I would really go back to that time.
Okay.
Uh, Elementary school was when I knew, man, I like this more than other people like it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Was anyone in your family a writer?
You know, on a published level, no. My mom's a pretty good writer. She can write pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
And so I probably have a little bit from her. She's never published anything, but she's just written little stories here and there.
Yeah.
I will say I have a family of, um, well, I mean, I'm talking about with wife and kids, literary lovers. I mean, and they're reading all the time,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and telling stories and stuff. And so I don't feel like I'm the only one in this household who has that knack or that
Oh,
passion or that love.
mm,
Um, but so far as people who've actually produced, like put the book together and put it out,
mhm.
it's just me for now. Just me for
Yeah.
now.
Okay. So you actually got to come in. Welcome, welcome. Um, you actually um do a lot of reading yourself.
I do. It's interesting because
Mhm.
most of what I read is nonfiction.
Okay.
I don't. Uh, I don't always enjoy reading fiction, and here's the reason why. So, if I pick up a book that someone has written,
Hmm.
I will. I can't help it. I will ask myself as I read, like, how would I have done this differently? I can't help but look behind the curtain,
Yeah.
and I can't. Whereas I think someone who
Oh, I
just
see.
picks up a book to enjoy it, they
Right.
understand the story at face value. But I'm like, all right, what is the author trying to do?
Yeah.
What are the things going on behind the scenes? What is he
What is-
intending to do? And he might write something. He or she might write something. I'm going, well, how would I have done that differently? How would
Yeah.
I have done that better? I wouldn't have. Right? It's not my style. It doesn't. But I think it sullies the reading experience a little bit because I can't go into it pure.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think about it in a creative sense.
Right.
Um, but of course, I wouldn't do it any better. My goodness, everybody has their own unique style and means
r-
of storytelling.
Yep.
But it's a bummer. Nonfiction, I do enjoy some nonfiction.
Mhm.
Really, historical nonfiction. I read a book on Attila the Hun,
Mhm.
and the Huns. Just
Mhm.
that to me is fascinating. I can get
Yeah.
into that
Yeah.
because there's no competitive or like let me compare myself,
Right.
in for nonfiction like that with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Okay. Okay. Um. All right. So, how did you get from 3rd grade loving your writing, loving to write, to where you are today as a writer?
So that was a big step. I think it was always as I went through high school into college, I would think, I love to write. I think I'm good at it,
Mm.
but man, a book is big. That's a lot, right?
Yeah.
And so I think there came a point in college
Mhm.
where I finally said, you know what, I'm just going to go for it.
Mhm.
It's kind of the whole how do you eat an elephant?
Yeah.
One bite at a time. I mean, that's
Yeah.
what you do. And so I approached it and said, you know what, let me just start. Let me
Mhm.
start.
Mhm.
And from there, it took me 6 years to write my first book, the Dawn of Destiny, the original version of Dawn of Destiny. And that
Mhm.
was because I would write it, then I'd learn something. Oh, I did this wrong. Or I could do this better. And I would literally rewrite the whole thing,
Mhm.
applying that. And then I'd do it again and I'd do it again. And so that really became a repeating process of improvement, self improvement,
Mhm.
as I went into the manuscripts and whatnot. But when I wrote Dawn of Destiny, the original at 19, and had no money with which to do anything with it. And so it took years to get enough to, let me actually hire a professional editor. Let me
Mhm.
hire a professional designer. Let me
Mhm.
hire a real cover artist to bring this to life. And so when you're in college and you're living off of, ramen noodles and Taco Bell, you don't have that kind of, capital to do anything.
Right. Right.
So it took a while, but that was really it. Just the decision to let other people do it. It's not impossible. I
Yeah.
can write a novel. Let
Yeah.
me just take a stab at it. And it
Right.
ended up working out really well for me.
Who were some influencers in your life that really kind of, you know, helped you along the way?
So you mean in my life as in mentors and
Yeah.
whatnot? Okay. So um, I immediately think of a lady, an author named Barbara Colley.
Mhm.
And I knew her from church, and she really took me under her wing, showed me the ropes, and taught me how to treat this industry.
Mhm.
And I really credit her with a lot. She gave me one of the statements that I've never forgotten. It is endeavor to persevere.
Mhm.
And that has been something that I have had to repeat to myself 1,000 times because my goodness, as a writer, sometimes it's slow, it's a slog. Sometimes things go great, sometimes they don't go as great as you thought. So you have to keep telling yourself, like, keep going, just plug away, plug away, plug away. I know, when you start a book like this, watch, I'll grab my, you know, when you start a book that is the size of this one, shaking my phone, you know,
Mhm.
you have to commit to endeavoring to persevere at the
Yeah.
very beginning because that's
Yeah.
shock. This is a tome of literature here, right? And so you really have to approach it
Mhm.
with an attitude of this is going to take a while. And that phrase endeavor to persevere has really been a something that I've clung to
Mhm.
and something that has helped me in those times when the task just seems hugely impossible, very daunting at the
Mhm.
least.
Yeah. I can tell you, Lee. All right, so I'm like halfway book, and as I was reading, I'm thinking to myself, and this is somewhat of a rhetorical question, but I want to ask it to make a point. Um, I'm thinking to myself, how do you have all this information in your head that you can actually just, construct these different storylines in such detail? You know,
So I don't know.
okay.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like I do have an answer.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know if it's an answer so much as an explanation, right?
Hmm.
So just like some people can pop the hood of a car
Yeah.
and know what to do,
Hmm.
I'm not one of those people. Just like some people can start out with a couple pieces of lumber and make the most gorgeous table you've ever seen. I can't do that, right? But I understand human interaction, which is the core of crafting a story.
Yeah.
So whereas there's a ton that does not come natural to me, like
Hmm.
math. Let's just be very basic, right? But narratives, interactions, how things play against each other,
Hmm.
and the purpose of storytelling is something that I know that I do well. I have a natural inclination toward that. So what I say is, how do I have all of this in my head? a good idea won't go away. That's why I used to jot things down, and I guess I still do, just, I guess, for practice, but a good idea will stick and a good interaction between characters will stick. So,
Mhm.
I mean, I've had ideas for book 3 and 4
Mhm.
that I planted seeds for in book 1 because I knew we're going to get to that point. We're going to get to that point at some point. So I'm going to plant the seed now, and a
Mhm.
few books down the road, this is going to blossom into something, and it almost always has.
Mhm.
But to be able to say this is how I do it, I think I just love it. I don't know if there's any Myers Briggs people who are going to watch this, but I'm very much an INFP, so very much someone who is aware of emotional connections and aware of how emotions play off each other, and
Mhm.
aware of how character dynamics can play off each other as it pertains to emotion.
Mhm.
And so that has made the narrative, the story, the interaction part of writing. That's my favorite part.
Mhm.
I can do action, uh,
Yeah.
but my favorite thing to do is to have two characters have a conversation. To me, that's just great.
I mean, I find that incredible because, I was gonna ask, as one of my questions is, do you research ea each character, their backgrounds, and, even the environments in which they're, operating in? How does that?
So sometimes that's a
Mhm.
half of the time. So when I'm looking up a character and they're from a place, I want to understand that place a little bit. I have a character named Beckon, who is an Irish character, and he is from a town called Broadford in Ireland. And so I actually reached out to a linguist and from Broadford who could explain to me the Broadford dialect. And so some of his dialect, someone may not recognize it quite as Irish, but it's actually, this is how some people, these are some common phrases in Broadford,
Mhm.
common things that are said here. It's
Mhm.
the same way in America. Someone from New York City is going to talk very different from someone in Kentucky. And if you are telling a story, you have to convey that to some degree.
Yeah.
Uh, so, and then when you have characters who are from different countries, try to learn a little bit about that country. Try
Yeah.
to learn a little bit about uh, ways of life that they um, may experience every single day. How are some things different for them?
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so I guess that's it. It's really an accuracy thing for me.
Mhm.
Uh, and I say this as a Cajun, right? So I don't think any ethnic group or whatever has ever been like misrepresented more than Cajuns. Like we have Waterboy. That's what we have, right?
Yeah.
Waterboy. The movie Waterboy is pretty much with Adam Sandler. That's
Yes.
about as good as we ever got it. It's awful, And so, as someone who feels
Mhm.
grossly misrepresented in pretty much every single thing that my culture has been conveyed in, it's
Uh,
important to me to get things right.
yeah.
Do I get it all right? No, because
Okay. Okay.
I am only learning. I'm only experiencing this vicariously through these characters. But I really do make a genuine effort to try with dialect and
Mhm.
culture and customs and all these things to really nail it as best I can.
Okay. So are you telling me that Waterboy is the best representation of Cajun culture?
God. Well, the two I think of are that and then Gambit, who is the X-Man Gambit.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of bad options.
Oh, wow.
So
O
I don't
okay.
know. I don't know, man. No one quite gets it right.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be interested in finding a more accurate representation. If you can point
You
me.
will. If you keep reading, you will, because I had
O
to throw someone in there from my neck of the woods.
Okay, great.
So,
Okay, I know I got ahead of myself, so let me go through these questions here, see where I'm at. Um, so did you take any writing courses, classes in school?
um, so I have. Um, I took a lot of writing in college, and obviously in school, there's all these reading programs, summer reading type stuff, and I've done writing groups where you show up and you do like a what would they call it? I think it's just a writing group is what they would call it. And I hated them all, and they did more harm than good.
Mm,
Summer reading in high school almost killed my desire to be a writer at all. because it was stuff I wasn't interested in.
Mm-hmm.
I would have loved to read the kind of stuff that I'm writing now in summer. I had to read about like young Victorian woman comes of age. I don't care. I don't care. I'll never care. And so that kind of stuff just didn't do anything for me. And I don't know with writing groups. Look, they may work for people, and that's great if they work. But the experience I had was a bunch of writers telling each other how they would have done it differently. I don't want to hear that. That's not helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know. I've always been a little bit of a lone wolf author.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of I'm hesitant. This is gonna make me sound like an idiot, but I'll explain it. I'm hesitant to learn too much before I try something because you don't want to learn something and then project that into what you're doing on a style level.
Yeah.
I do think that it's important for all writers to hold on to a sense of style that is their own.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're reading something for me, it's for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a style that I picked up from anywhere. This is how I do it. And I think that while it is good to get the experience of other people, other writers, uh, and to kind of allow them to be mentors of sorts, or at least uh, view them as sources of wisdom. I'll put it that way. Um, it's also important to be yourself. It's also important to take everything with a grain of salt because you are not the other person.
Right.
So with that in mind, I'm very restrictive in what I dive into and what I've dived into in the past. And so I like to say dove into, but it always auto corrects me to dive, and I don't like that. So I went with dived, and I regret that choice.
Uh-huh.
But no, I'm very boy hesitant to learn too much about styles because I feel like the more I learn about other styles, uh, to a degree, I'm losing a little bit of my own, and
Yeah.
that's what makes me special. That's what makes every author special is their style, right? So that's kind of a roundabout answer, I think, a little bit.
No, it resonates. It resonates. Um, so I got this question. How many books do you read per year, do you think?
How many books I read? One, two. I don't read a lot. Well, for one thing, if I'm reading, I'm not writing, and
Mhm.
so that is my time is already stretched as thin as it can be. So I read. I think the last fiction book I read was Whale Fall, off of a recommendation from a friend, and it was a great read. So, but on a fiction level, there are a few that I'm working my way through and working on, and they're all great. But I'm just slow at reading. I'm slow at
Mhm.
reading. Um, much faster, I think, at writing than reading. It takes me a while to release a book because they're massive, not because I necessarily write slowly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think uh, 1 to 2. I'll say one is a fiction
Mhm.
and one is a nonfiction.
I'll be honest with you. After I listened to your first audiobook, 2006, I um I thought it was great. I loved the high production quality of it, and the uh, the carrier scene is like my favorite scene in that version and this version too.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Um, but I saw you on YouTube saying how you updated the earlier version of the book, and I'll let you know a little secret. Growing up, I never liked reruns. Reruns. Um, so when I heard you talk about it, I said, I'm definitely going to get to the book, you know, um, but it's probably not very far off from what he had already written. But when I picked it up, I was like, oh wow, he was right. It is very much more richer, colorful, and so forth. I was like, yeah, you did capture, you know, nuances that just wasn't there
Yeah.
before.
So it's funny because yeah, you don't often get a chance to reapproach old work and freshen it up. But
Mhm.
I had a great opportunity to do that. And what it allowed me to do is just write better on so many levels. And the first one that pops in my head is the relationship between the two main characters, Scott and Nicole. So they are engaged. That's a huge part of the whole story of this
Mhm.
book and of other books is their engagement and these two young people who are in love. At the time I had originally wrote Dawn of Destiny, I never had a girlfriend, right? So what did I know about that? Now I've been, my goodness, we've known each other for 20 years at this
Mhm.
point, Lindsay and I. And so, been married for, I think we'll be coming up on 18 next year. I better get that right. It better be 18. But it's been, such an opportunity to, understand what goes into a relationship. What are the stresses? My goodness, imagining what stress is before you're actually in a relationship or married. You have no idea what life can hand you,
Mm.
right? Um, you have to have a partner that you can navigate that with, and you have to have someone that you can relate to and who's going to pull you up and who you might have to pull up
Mhm.
because life will hit you with some stuff. And so I think, whereas I wasn't prepared to do that as well at 19 years old, right? Now I'll be 44 this month.
Mhm.
I can do that a little bit. The other funny thing is David, David Jurgen,
Yeah.
who is the character. In the original, I wrote him. He was this uh, old wise, you know,
Right.
conveyor of knowledge, the
Yeah.
old grandfatherly figure. I really wrote him old. He was 40 years old.
Yeah.
40. So that shows you at 19 what you
Yeah.
think old is.
Exactly.
And so,
Exactly.
I'm like, I'm 43 now and I'm still an idiot. So, but by every metric, I wrote that character to be big. He should have been like 60,
Uh-huh.
or 70 when I first wrote him. But no, I made him 40, which
Mhm.
I realized I really aged this guy. He was an old soul, to be
Mhm.
sure. And so writing him better, writing him a little lighter,
Mhm.
a little more youthful and fun. But the challenge was doing all of this while not changing the story because I don't want to do a reboot. I
Yeah.
don't. This is not me starting over and saying, "Hey, I'm gonna do all of the things different. Let me,
Mhm. Mhm.
correct some things." There's a few things I've corrected, but the
Mhm.
story's the same, and so it really has been just conveying things differently and going deeper into
Mhm.
things that maybe I didn't know enough to know how to do before.
Yeah.
And so that's been the goal of the new edition. So it was called Epic. The series was called Epic. Now it's called Destiny's Edge, for those. And you can see I have this is so this is the same cover. So we have two different covers because we've
Right.
kind of messed around with some cover ideas. This is the one you find on Amazon right
Yeah.
here,
Yes. Right.
still for 1 second.
Yeah.
And so it's I think 30. The first one was 99,000 words, close to that, and this one was 130. And so that's a chunk more. That's a lot more.
Now,
And a lot of it's been addition.
how many
It's
thousands did you say?
it is about 130 now, I think.
130,000 words?
130,000. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like a 30 some percent increase, like 36 or something like that, 35, 36,
Mhm.
which is significant.
Yeah.
I mean, it really turned it into really the kind of experience that I wanted to convey
Mhm.
at 19.
Yeah.
Didn't quite know how to yet. It's so.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for the autographed copy, by the way.
No problem. My pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Yeah. Um, okay. Let's see, where am I? You mentorship. You talked about that. So how important is it or has it been to you to have a mentor? You know?
It's, I mean, starting off, my goodness, I couldn't have done it without Miss Barbara. So I think every author starting off
Mhm.
should try to find someone who is willing to convey knowledge and experience. She definitely saved me from a lot of you know hardships,
Yeah.
mistakes I could have made along the journey. And so I think it's important. I think it's a critical thing. Now,
Mhm.
a big part of that, a big part of having a writing mentor when you start is you have to be willing to say you have to be willing to listen to the mentor, right? So we authors are an egotistical bunch, right? And we think that we are the bee's knees. And so if you have a mentor, you got to listen to the mentor. If the mentor
Yeah.
says, yeah, let's reconsider something or think about this, don't have a mentor just to check the mentor box. Like, listen, this
Right.
person, especially if they've been doing it for a while, listen to them and see what they have to say. And some of it will apply, some of it may not.
Mhm.
Because we write different genres and different styles. But listen to if you have an author who is willing to take you under their wing, that is at bare minimum deserving of your utmost respect and effort to
Mhm.
take advantage of that. And
Yeah.
listen to what they're trying to
Yeah,
teach you.
absolutely. 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 All right. So your Christian faith. Um,
Right.
how much has that influenced your writing
So
career?
it that has influenced. I mean, a lot. That is something that has been woven throughout my journey as a writer. So when I was a teenager, right, and so watching things on TV, my favorite things to watch were things like Alien. Alien's my favorite all time movie. Actually, I have a replica of a Nostromo coffee mug right here.
Mhm.
I for any nerd who knows Alien, right? And I love that. And Predator, Terminator 2. This is my era, right? Child of the 80s here. And it always stunk that I was going to have to deal with something that I didn't want to deal with. I was going to have to hear language all over the place, or I have to see, there's going to be, I mean, you're not talking about very many uh, sex scenes in Alien Predator, my goodness. But any movie that was rated R,
Mhm.
that could have been a great movie. Like,
Mhm.
man, there's going to be stuff that I just wish would not be there that doesn't serve any purpose uh,
Yeah.
to further the plot. And so
Mhm.
when I went into writing, and even at 19, I was thinking about this. I was thinking, I want to write something that a parent doesn't have to worry about. It could be just as terrifying or thrilling as something like Alien, or as action packed as something like Predator, but the parent is not going to have to worry about that chapter that's going to show up. Like, well, where's the sex chapter? It's in there. We know it's coming. It's not coming. And
Mhm.
so, language. I made my own profanity, I guess, so to speak. My characters say Vec. It's VECK. That is their utterance of disgust and disdain. It actually means something. It's a short form of saying like we're vexed, and so it actually has an etymology to it. All right, so
Uh, okay.
it's
It's good to know. Yeah.
yeah. So it has a purpose, and I don't have to write f bombs all over the place. I don't have to
Yeah.
write things that are going to. 'Cause so if you're a parent and a parent gives a kid your book, they're kind of giving you some of their trust, right? And they're saying like, I'm going to give my kid a book that you wrote. Please don't mess up my kid.
Yeah.
And so that's something that I take seriously. And so just that alone has
Yeah.
been a massive part of how my faith has affected my writing. But it also, oh, I'm gonna try to, as a Christian,
Mhm.
having consumed Christian media, there is an element of cheese, right? There's an element of cheese to a lot
Mhm.
of Christian media,
Uh-huh.
right?
Uh,
I used to joke that every Christian movie ends with everybody goes to a Newsboys concert and the villain gets saved, and it's like, come on, guys. And so I wanted to make sure that I'm writing something that is real,
mhm.
because a real walk of faith, it stinks sometimes. It's hard, it's convicting.
Yeah.
You have to understand that you know, we believe in miracles, right? But you can't have
Mhm.
miracles without awful things happening all the time.
Right.
And so, we have to be prepared for that. Sometimes the villain doesn't get saved.
Right.
Sometimes the hero falls. So,
Yep.
I mean, so that these are real things that we have
Mm.
to, as as believers, be willing to talk about,
Right.
be willing to convey
Yep.
in a way that is not like sugarcoated? Because we like to do that, man. We want to hand people Christian candy and say, hey,
Right.
so let me tell you about our faith. It's sugary sweet.
Mhm.
You're gonna love it. This.
Mhm.
What we really ought to say is like, man, let me tell you about my faith. Proceed carefully because it ain't always gonna be fun, but it's worthwhile and it's
Yep.
worth it, and you will not regret it. But man, there's some hard stuff in a walk of faith. There's some very difficult things in a walk of faith, and so wanting to both write something that parents don't have to worry about because
Mhm.
it's clean. I mean, I've got aliens, I've got monsters, I've got really, it is military science fiction stuff, right?
Mhm.
But it's appropriate, I guess, or it's not needlessly inappropriate. Might be a better way to put it. But that's also conveying faith in a way that is real
Right.
and in a way that is not just fluff, Christian fluff. Um, you know,
Right.
Christian Skittles.
Right.
It it's part of it's tough. You know, part of I think good writing as a from a Christian perspective, is in my opinion, is writing something that makes someone go, "Whew,
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
hit me deep somewhere. That
Yeah.
hit me somewhere that
Yeah.
I didn't expect."
Right.
And it makes me question. I'm a big fan of doubt
Mhm.
as a Christian, because I think doubt strengthens you. So a lot of people don't like to um, have their faith questioned. They don't
Mhm.
like to have to answer tough questions,
Mhm.
and so because it might make them uncomfortable, right? But we have to be willing to ask ourselves these tough questions. You got to be willing to ask yourself, you know what, as a Christian, you should ask yourself every now and then, like, is this even real? Is any of this even?
Yeah.
Are we just really nothing? And we just,
Mhm.
science just paved the way. We need to be able to ask ourselves that. We need to be able to have the ability to allow ourselves to doubt a little bit, with the purpose of saying, now let me go in a Christian's instance, let me go open the Bible and see what the Bible
Mhm.
says. Let me pray about this. Let me actually read about this, because what you're doing is you're building spiritual muscle, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Someone working out. What builds muscle? Resistance.
Mhm.
Resistance builds muscle. The whole time someone's, doing their exercises, these little muscle fibers are tearing in here.
Yeah.
They're getting ripped to shreds.
Right.
You have to allow your soul to get ripped to shreds a little bit
Mhm.
and build it back and be able to,
Mhm.
to build back those areas of uncertainty or doubt, but with the knowledge of not only what you believe, but
Mhm.
why you believe it.
Yeah.
Because what you don't want to do as a person of faith is have someone say, "Oh, why do you believe that?" And you're like, "I just believe it."
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
You got to ask yourself those questions before other people ask you, because they will.
Yeah.
They
That's
will.
right. That's right.
And answer, I don't know, if you don't know. If someone asks you a hard question, say, you know
Yeah.
what? I have no idea. How
Right.
does the Trinity work?
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
kind of get some things, but man,
Mhm.
that's confusing. I'm just gonna have faith that there's some things I can't understand. It's like trying to explain to an ant how futures in the stock market work. That you're not going to do that. So there's things that I'm just not going to understand, and we have to be willing to say that.
Yeah. Yes. I
Long answer, long answer about faith.
it's a good it's packed with a lot of things. A lot of things were going through my head as you were talking, and I I definitely connect where you were saying that, you have basically I'll give my interpretation of it. You have to be able to honestly confess your doubts and
Yes,
your shortcomings where they exist, particularly to God, and then
yes,
to others who you can confide in to do so, who can give you a godly response. And I think about the scripture where Jesus says that in this world you will have persecution,
hmm,
but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world.
yeah,
And so the answers do come from the Bible. The answers do come from praying and confessing to God our shortcomings, our fears, our doubts, you know, just being honest with him.
Yeah.
And he'll give us those answers. Basically, we're it's not gonna be a bed of roses like you're saying.
Right.
It's not, it's not gonna be easy all the time, most times. uh, but um, but God gives us joy even like, in the lion's den,
Yeah.
in the fiery furnace.
Absolutely.
So, we do have God in the fire with us. And if 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 our minds transcends, the the fire around us, by the power of God and by the Spirit of God, um, we can overcome. Um,
Yeah.
you know, but
Absolutely.
it's a walk of faith, and it's, you know it's 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 perseverance, as you were talking
Yeah.
about, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Perseverance.
Okay. Let's see. So, struggles as a writer.
Struggles as a writer.
Yeah.
On a basic, uh, you know, uh, we're not getting very deep, but time is always a struggle. That's a struggle. Time to write. I don't think
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
you mean,
No,
but
I get.
boy, that
Yeah.
comes to mind. So struggles as a writer. I'm gonna interpret that deeply. Um, I would say honesty. Not so much a struggle it's an emphasis on writing honestly. It's an emphasis on uh, conveying things the right way. Well, I'm not just talking about faith things, but things in general.
Mhm.
Um, Making sure that you are uh, making sure that you are writing with integrity in the emotions that you convey. Right. I'm trying to think of a way to put this into an example or something that I can give.
Mhm. Mhm.
Uh, okay, so let's say you have a character that's going through some bad event has happened. I'm gonna
Mhm.
just wing this and hope it wraps itself up. All right, so a bad thing has happened, and
Mhm.
a character has man. There's only one way out of this situation,
Mhm.
and he does everything right, fails anyway.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like great, that's life. That is what life is. That's what I mean when I say writing honestly, because
Yeah.
the cliche thing is for things to just work out. You know what? I got one way out of this. You watch a movie and they say we only got one way out of this. You already can kind of know like, well, they're going to do that thing. Well, what if they do that thing and it just totally backfires and fails, and now they're worse off than they were before at no fault of their own, right?
Mhm.
That's like Tuesday for us, right? That's the human life. That's the human experience, and so
Yeah.
um, avoiding cliches.
Mhm.
Um, I always like for a response to be, I never saw that coming in your
Mhm.
story. Never saw it coming, but it makes total sense.
Mhm.
Because I think what people are looking for are the tropes that they are familiar with. I think they're looking for the familiar way out of this problem or the familiar
Mhm.
um, uh, way of thinking. Um, and so avoid those cliches and avoid those tropes
Mhm.
and write what would really happen. What you should write next is what would happen next.
Mhm.
So, um, so I say you asked me struggles, and these are really points of emphasis more than struggles.
Mhm.
Okay, I got a struggle. I got a
Mhm.
struggle.
Okay. Okay.
I hate writing technical things. I
That
I admire old Star Trek that just said, we have to phase the Woogidget
uh,
to match the interface pulse of, and it doesn't mean anything, right? I just want to be able to do that, right? So because when I have to learn how all these technical things work, then I have to actually be smart. We've already
yeah.
established I'm kind of an idiot. right? So it's not going to work for me. And so
Uh-huh.
I've got to, here's the thing. This is why it matters so much. And this is why I skirt the line, man. I
Mhm,
don't, I, I, I get close to accuracy and then I back off.
mhm.
Because if you say, this is exactly how these radio waves work in this transmission, there's a guy, there's going to be a guy who's going to pick up your book.
Yep, yep.
And he's not gonna send you an email that says like, "Hey, dude, I appreciate what you wrote.
Mhm.
You got the megahertz wrong here." Just FYI. He's gonna go 1 star you on Amazon. You tell
Yeah.
everybody this guy's an
Yes.
idiot. This guy couldn't write himself out of a box because you know stick to what you know, idiot, is what they
Yeah,
would say. 1 star, and the algorithm's going to put that at the top of your page because this
yeah,
is how life works, right? So
yeah,
it's you really have to. You really have to get close,
yeah,
close to the truth,
yeah.
close to specifics, and then go, that's as close. And then if someone says, that's not quite how it works, you say, well, it's the future.
I like that.
It's the future.
I like
Things
that.
work a
Yeah,
little differently, right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's inevitable that that situation would happen. Yes.
Yeah, so yeah, oh yeah, it's happened. It
Yeah.
happens. Let me assure you.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now, I want to go back real quick to your emergency preparedness uh work.
All
You know,
right.
do you ever see things in that line of work where just doesn't end well? I mean,
I'm sorry, where what?
it just doesn't end well. Because I'm when you talk it as it relates to your stories, I'm
Well,
what relate to real life.
sure, in I think of it immediately a grand scale thing like a hurricane.
Okay.
Right? All the preparedness in the world is not going to stop the trees from going down. It's not going to stop the tornado from tearing through a neighborhood. It's not going to, so there are inevitable bigs,
Mhm,
that are going to hit you.
mhm,
And so part of it is understanding like, all right, we're going to just do the best we can.
mhm.
And so I've tried to apply that same. Uh, People are going to be impacted by this big thing, no matter what we do. Like
Yeah,
I try to apply that a little bit when I'm writing,
yeah.
but it certainly is a reality, especially in South Louisiana, where I mean, right now is prime hurricane. We tend to get a massive, horrible hurricane on my birthday. That's like just how it works. And my birthday's in late August, and so
Mhm,
we're watching the tropics, watching the Atlantic, coast of Africa, all the places. Um,
mhm,
Right, but
mhm.
that comes to mind are
Yeah,
hurricanes.
yeah. Okay, okay, okay. I saw that connection, and I just
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
okay. So representation. You
Representation.
you're now being represented by Untamed Artist.
Yeah, so right, I do have I have a manager for Untamed Artists LA. And that really is a result of there being and I won't get into it too deeply, but uh there's been interest in turning the series into another media like a TV show.
Okay.
So that has been something that has been a work in progress for a while, and something that is still being attempted. But that's man, I don't know the manager stuff, so that's something where you need someone who knows us a little better than you, who can say,
Mm-hmm.
hey, here's how we
Oh, okay.
navigate these waters.
So, do you have autonomy to work outside of that representation to sell your books and whatever?
Oh yeah, so that is just for the screenwriting aspect of. I've written a few screenplays too. So when you asked about novels, I've written other things besides just books. I've got a few under my belt, but that's only for that. That's only for that. That doesn't touch the books at all. So that's. I've always been independent. I've always been a fiercely independent with writing, because I am just a control freak. That's just the truth.
Okay.
And so I wouldn't want someone to mess this thing up that I've so carefully crafted, right?
Yeah,
And so that's yeah,
I respect that. I respect that. Keeping that integrity of your work. I like that. Um. Okay. So let's see. I see we have Mandy has joined, and I'm trying to see the other name.
Yeah, we have Mandy, and we have boy, I'm gonna try this. Look, I'm probably gonna get it wrong. I apologize in advance. If it makes you feel any better, I'm a Cajun, and our names are nuts, and no one can pronounce anything down here, so I understand. But is it Yuknur? It's a,
You can see it
you
better
can
than I.
laugh.
I
You
can.
can put, you know, horrible emojis, in my honor. But you guys have stuck with it for a while, so
Yeah.
I
Thank.
appreciate that.
Thank you. Do you any of you have any questions?
I'm happy to answer any questions.
Um, Otherwise, we're going to wrap things up. And all right,
I
so
want to answer one question at least. Here we go. Give me something.
I can say thank you for coming. I appreciate you being here. While they may be thinking, Lee, what advice would you want to leave our listeners?
So, advice for other aspiring writers. All right. So, there are two pieces of advice.
Mhm.
Um, the, the first piece of advice that I would give an aspiring writer is be careful listening to advice. So, a, oftentimes, when people give you advice, um, in the realm of writing, especially if it's other authors, and you'll know who you can listen to, you'll know who you can just politely say, okay, thank you. But a lot of times advice is what they would do. Right. And so be careful. Be careful with that because don't lose your identity. Right.
Mhm.
Don't lose who you are. Um, be you the writer. Um, the other piece of advice with that in mind, I'll lead with don't necessarily listen to advice, right? But if you were going to listen to advice, listen to this next bit of advice. Get a job. Get a job that is not writing, that will support you as a writer. Because then you don't have to deal with the stress of, am I going to make it? Am I going to sell enough books? Am I going to, you know what? The job takes care of that.
Mhm.
And now you can just write, not feeling like you're burdened by needing to perform at a certain high level. Because sometimes you will, and sometimes you won't. You know, every writer has at some point asked themselves, like, why do I do this? Because it's an ebb and flow. I think every artist can relate to that to some extent, right? And so I think having a job is a big deal. Having a job, a lot of authors want to quit their job immediately and write full time. That's just what they want to do.
Mhm.
And I always say, like, man, don't do that. Don't do that. Get a job, support yourself. Now write and do the best you can. But a job is going to help you get a better editor. It's going to help you get a real designer for your book covers. It's going to help you hire a great artist for your book covers. It's going to help you do all of these things, right? Um, you'll have the income to support yourself. So don't look down on a job. A job has helped me out so much, just in the alleviation of stress and pressure to have to perform at a certain level, right, all the time.
For sure.
That would be it. That would be the big one for me.
Okay. Okay. Great. 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 I want to ask you a couple more questions, Lee.
Sure, sure.
So,
By the way, any of you guys listening, I will answer any question you ask. So fire away if you want as you're listening.
yes, yes, please, please. Um, Gosh, I forgot the question.
Oh man.
We were talking, and it came to me, but I forgot it. That's okay. Um, Anything else? All right. So here's my question to you, Lee.
Okay.
We have You have 8 more books left in your genealogy, and we've done one interview for the first book.
Right, right, right.
I think we have 8 more interviews to go.
Eight more interviews to go. That's right.
So one for every book, and I'd love to have you back.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's fun.
It's great. It's a great.
Good conversation for sure.
Yes. Well, thanks, Lee. I appreciate it.
My
And
pleasure. My pleasure.
tell your family I said hello and thank you for letting.
Absolutely will. Thank you.
Okay. Take care.
You too.
Bye, everybody.